Hi and welcome back to a new video. So on the 11th of August, we went to France, we went to Bergerac to do our Goal d'Iv. This involved 4 days of canoeing down the river Dordogne. Here are some pictures of our first campsite, which we stayed at on the Sunday evening. The people we hired the canoes from took us to Argentat, which is where we'd start our 4-day expedition. And here is the start. As you can see, it's very sunny. It might not be like that later. Only about 10 minutes had passed when we first got ourselves in a bit of trouble.
Whoa. Look, it's happened to all three of us. I don't think... That wasn't a nice little cover.
Right, so there were many rapidy sections along the river, and there were quite a few coming up. So I've filmed our live reaction to some of them. So this is the first one, and this one wasn't actually that bad. But you've just got to make sure you're going a good route where there are not many rocks, and that you can actually get down, basically, because if there are rocks, you'll be grounded, and you don't want that, because you'll have to like dig your paddle in and like push off, or just like get out of the boat, which isn't what you want.
Oh! No. Oh! Just as I was drying off as well.
This is the village of Belleau sur Dordogne, and it was the first bit of real civilization we got to, and it was very nice. Coming up is a canoe chute, so it had a weir, but we can't go down the weir, so we've got to go down a canoe chute, which is basically a slide for canoes.
Right, no, right a bit, Sam, right. No, right.
So the weather drastically took a turn for the worst. It got to this rainy from no rain at all in probably about a minute. And it was really sunny beforehand. Nobody saw it coming. So therefore my waterproofs were at the bottom of my bag. So it wasn't great for me. So we just carried on canoeing to a tree, and I just prayed that my dry bags were actually doing what they were supposed to and keeping stuff dry, because I've had some dodgy ones before.
So we're trying to take cover in this forest, but it's not very good.
And not all of us had found a lovely tree to sit under like Ollie had. So on Gold D&V, you've got to do what's called a wild camp. Now this is where you camp, but not on a campsite. So this was the location for our wild camp. So we had to put up our tents here and basically just sleep here. And we had no facilities, we had no toilet. So it was very hard considering it had rained and we all needed a shower. I had to say I didn't get a good night's sleep because there was hardly anywhere to put the tent, so we put ours on a molehill and a tree, so that wasn't the best. So it was day 2 and Sam and I had swapped over where we were on the boat because I was originally at the front because we each did 2 days at the front, 2 days at the back, and I prefer being at the back because the back's the best because it's easier to manoeuvre the boat from the back. So here's what we got up to on day 2, I guess. I specifically decided to film the next part because we were kind of going down this really narrow section of river, which wasn't actually like the main Dordogne, it was like a tributary, I think that's what it's called, and it was kind of cool. It was kind of eerie and kind of spooky, so I quite like that.
That wasn't that bad. We've been down worse drops. Yeah.
We then saw this town, and as we'd just been looking at water for 2 days, we thought it was worth to go and give it a visit. We then had to go down our second canoe shoot of the trip, and as you can see this one barely had any water on it, so we basically just had to like push our way down. We weren't really flowing. I must admit, today's scenery was very, very nice. There were these big cliffs on either side of the river, and it was very picturesque and nice to look at. We then arrived at the campsite in Mayron called La Plage, and it was well needed because I hadn't had a shower for 3 days, and we didn't have any facilities last night, and we had been canoeing for 8 hours because that's the requirements for gold. So yeah. So the start of day 3 saw our first encounter with the trees.
I can't. Oh.
So you probably can't see this, but it's actually probably good you can't, because for about 5 minutes I had these 2 dragonflies making out on my paddle. So we made it to our campsite. You can see our lovely riverside pitch here, and this was a pretty nice campsite. It was more expensive than the nice one, but it had this bridge in the backdrop, and that was nice. And I had a fairly early night and a pretty good night's sleep. So yeah, I rate that campsite. So on day 4, it rained again, and this time it was probably just as bad. Luckily, it only started raining after we'd started canoeing, not whilst we were having breakfast. This is what I thought of it.
I don't think it's ever rained when I've done D&V before this. Come to a different country and the weather just gets worse.
Here's me and Sam having a nice lie down as a reward for getting through that spell of rain. We then canoed past this amazing castle, but unfortunately you can't see its beauty in this picture, but it was amazing. We then canoed through this amazing village. I think it's called La Roque-Gueniec. That's probably not how you pronounce it, but the GoPro, like, the colours are quite washed out on it, so it doesn't show how amazing it was, but it was honestly one of the best villages I'd ever canoed through. The way the village was just on the bottom of a massive cliff edge was amazing, and this part of the river was so touristy. Like, there were loads of tourists, and there were also these big boats, like tourist boats that were coming down the river, and you couldn't see them, so there was one behind us coming at us, and we had to like quickly paddle out of the way because they were virtually silent. But yeah, I'd say this was the best part of the river. There were a lot more castles towards the end part of the river, and there's another perched on top of the hill. Now, this bit here shows us coming into our final point of the whole expedition. So after canoeing for 8 hours each day, we had completed our gold D&V expedition, but that was not the end of it. I have to now do a 5-day residential with people I don't know, and we have to do the presentation for the expedition, as well as doing the volunteering skill and physical. So the D&V is far from over, but this is a big step towards getting the highest D&V award. Leave a like if you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you again soon.